Asumo la decisión de continuar con más fuerza si cabe al frente de la presidencia del gobierno de España.
¿Y cómo podemos cuidar la democracia ante el auge de estos pseudomedios de comunicación sin ninguna base?
¿Qué sentido tiene que un político indulpe a otro? Ningún. Año y medio más tarde.
El Consejo de Ministros de hoy ha acordado conceder los indultos.
El gobierno venezolano ha acusado de fascistas a sectores opositores. Ahora ha dado lugar a un proyecto de ley que busca definir el fascismo y prohibirlo.
Televisoras, estaciones de radio, prensa escrita, están jugando con fuego, se pueden llevar una sorpresita.
Se consideran fascistas prácticamente cualquier cosa que tenga que ver con liberalismo, con conservadurismo moral. A partir de ahí, un medio de comunicación puede ser considerado fascista y puede ser perseguido.
Ha pedido a la justicia investigar a un periodista de la TV y esto pasa mucho en Venezuela, es una orden de Nicolás Maduro. Lo que no sé es por qué a los que les persiguen en Venezuela por estas razones se vienen a España. Pasa lo mismo.
Es un poco sorprendente que se huya de los gobiernos socialcomunistas y se vaya a otro gobierno socialista. Partidos políticos que forman parte de la maquinaria del tango, y esta es una deriva muy peligrosa.
Financia a medios como Negre, como Estado de Alarma, que cuando salimos de un comité federal digno y democrático nos acosan por las calles.
¡Fuera fascistas de las instituciones!
¿Podemos debatir serenamente si medios como el de Javier Negre tienen que estar acreditados por el Congreso de los Diputados? Yo creo que sí.
Os pediría que no se den acreditaciones en el Congreso a quienes no son medios de comunicación.
Llevamos meses viendo a pseudoperiodistas intentando monopolizar las ruedas de prensa en el Congreso de los Diputados.
¿Qué haría usted con esos medios?
Aniquilarlos, por supuesto.
Oye, no me agreda, no me agreda.
Me están insultando, que estamos aquí tranquilos.
Por ejemplo. Que no te metí una hostia bien. Oye, tranquila.
Mentiras. El ataque, el acoso de esta máquina del fango.
Que la mayoría social, como ha hecho estos 5 días, se movilice en una apuesta decidida por la dignidad. Porque los males que nos aquejan, que aspira a imponer su agenda represiva mediante el odio y la apelación a miedos y amenazas.
Esto lo haces el día que estaban aquí los fachas, te pegan los restas que ponen.
Mal.
Una reflexión colectiva que abra paso a la limpieza, a la regeneración, al juego limpio. Es una perversión democrática de desastrosas consecuencias.
¿Yo le he insultado?
No,
Por tanto, la pregunta es sencilla. ¿Queremos esto para España? Llevamos 10 años sufriendo. Mostremos al mundo cómo se defiende a la democracia.
¿Por qué nos quieres expulsar del Congreso de Diputados? ¿Por qué nos ataca? Usted es un servidor público.
Cuéntame, ¿me vas a decir por qué le compró mascarillas a Hazte por más de 700%?
Muy buenas a todos, espectadores de DATV Informa Radio. Estamos en el stand de DATV, donde está viniendo muchísima gente al Viva Vox, donde se está defendiendo la libertad y se está impulsando la batalla cultural. Precisamente estamos entrevistando a Miklós, que es el director general del Centro de Derechos Fundamentales de Hungría, y le quiero saludar. How are you, Miklós?
Thank you very much. It's good to be here with and together Spanish friends, Spanish conservative right-wing friends. It's good to be here.
Your people have been like a discussion about freedom of speech, the cultural battle for your center is really important. What's going on in Hungary and your think tanks, how they are dealing with this issue?
In Hungary, the situation in this respect is very good. Hungary is a stronghold of conservative right-wing forces, and we successfully stopped this whole cancel culture and woke agenda. But we also see that in the West, in our civilization, in the Western civilization, both in Europe and in the US, wokeism is on the rise. Cancel culture is on the rise. Political correctness is on the rise, but I think all of these phenomena are part of this wokeism. And maybe this term, woke, may sound a little bit strange to our ears. It's a new expression, but we do really know the content, because Wokeism is just a new form of socialism, of communism. Previously, they were the Bolsheviks, now they are the bolche-wokes. But their goal is the very same as it was 100 years ago. They try to attack our most important and cherished values, God, homeland, and family. Dios, patria, familia. Like the socialists, the Marxists, 100 years ago, they attack the church and they attack the Judeo-Christian heritage of Europe. They try to cancel Christianity. They attack the nations, they attack and undermine national identity, and they attack also state sovereignty in order to create some kind of a global or international or federal governance. That was the goal of the communists, to build an international world, and that is the goal of the woke, of the radical left, of the progressives, to seize the nations, to seize state sovereignty, and, for example, to create some kind of a federal superstate controlled by Brussels. And last but not least, they also attack the family and the children with this gender propaganda and LGBTQ nonsense, and they are trying to turn the children against their very own parents. And that was the very strategy of the communists, of this international and national socialists 80 or 100 years ago as well, to turn the children, to sanitize the mindset of the children with the communist or Nazi ideology, and in a respect to turn them against their very own parents. So what we see now is that their goal is the very same, and my point is that we in Hungary, we are more or less successful in our fight against woke. But Europe-wide, we should unite our forces, because Hungary is not enough to win this war. All of the conservatives, all of the right-wingers should stand up united. That is why we organize CPEC Hungary, because our goal is to create a platform for a global platform for the anti-globalist forces, because united we stand, but divided we lose. The liberals, the woke, is very well organized internationally. We should learn from them in this respect, only with the exception that we will fight for the good cause, for the cause of God, homeland and family, and that is why the European elections will have a very important nature on the 9th of June, because on the 9th of June, all over Europe, we can show that there is a very clear right-wing conservative alternative to leftist, liberal and centrist parties.
In Spain, we have a government that wants to approve a media law to close media like us. How can we fight against the government? Because in Hungary, Viktor Orban is the prime minister, you have the government, you have the resources, but what about in Spain, that we have a president with a lot of money, with a lot of support of companies? What should we do?
I do not want to give advices to you or give you a lesson how to make media or how to make politics. But what is very important to raise your voice. And for example, that type of international alliance of national conservative forces should also act as an alert chain, as a bridge and hub of informations, of news for the European or international conservative community. Because I tell you what, I do know this situation of yours in Spain. I know this because we do have an office here in Madrid, and I'm more or less up to date with Spanish domestic issues. But Europe-wide, average Hungarian people did not hear a word about what's happening in Spain, what kind of totalitarian actions are implemented by the Sanchez government. So what we should do with this international cooperation, of course, it should have a part about values, a part about politics, a part about policy making, but it's also important to be connected Europe-wide and globally to spread the word. What's happening, for example, here in Spain? Because if the word is spread, if there is an international scandal all around Europe, within the right-wing conservative communities and in the European conservative media, then that could put a pressure on the shoulders of Sanchez.
And what about the war in Ukraine? Because in Spain we have international journalists that work for a media newspaper or a Spanish newspaper that they give us just one point of view. What about it?
Look, what I can say, not only from a Hungarian perspective, but from a European perspective, is that our common interest is peace. The real European interest is immediate ceasefire in Ukraine and beginning the peace negotiations. It's obvious that this war is caused by Russian aggression, but the escalation of the war harms the interest of European people and of European economy. And it's also very clear that the efforts, the policies and politics of Brussels focuses on how to escalate this war, to give more weaponry, to give more military help, shows us that the only thing in their mind, of von der Leyen's mind and of the international European left's mind, is that there is only a military solution on the ground in Ukraine, nothing else. But there is another solution: ceasefire and peace talks. And you know what? We haven't heard the word peace from the mouth of von der Leyen or of any other leftist liberal leader from Brussels. That's the problem. The Hungarian standpoint is in line with the real European interest because we know and we experienced that the war, the sanctions, the inflation caused by the war and the sanctions, the whole economic situation is not in the interest of Europe, of European people, not in the interest of Spain and for example, of Hungary. Just think about the agricultural situation, the rise of prices because of the Ukrainian grain imported to Europe. This causes economic downfall in Europe. That's why we argue that peace is needed and ceasefire is needed. And the problem is that we talk about woke. We talk about this insane ideology, this emotion-driven decision-making, if it comes to migration, multiculturalism, border protection, etc., LGBT issues. All is driven by this emotion-based woke ideology. And the problem is, if the brain of the decision makers in Brussels is trained by this woke ideology, by this emotion-based decision making, then if there is a war in our neighborhood, if there is a military conflict, they will approach to this war also with this emotion-based, emotion-driven mindset. And this leads us to a situation in which they are not able to think about reality, they are not able to make the so-called realpolitik, but they are so ideologically driven with this military psychosis that the only thing that they know is war, war, and more war, instead of peace, peace, and more peace.
Thank you very much, and congratulations for your work in your Center for Fundamental Rights. And we'll see you in Hungary in several weeks to show in Spain how it's going on in Hungary, a good government with Viktor Orbán as Prime Minister.
You're more than welcome.
Muchas gracias.
Gracias.
Gracias.